Hi, it's GovLove84 Aria, OSNST Limited, and just wanted to do a vlog, try to keep it under 5 minutes, as short as possible. I just got back from a cardio walk around the local park, a bit of exercise, and in the recreation ground in Old Southall, or in Southall Broadway, Southall Park, or Spikeswood Park in New Southall, people are faced with the same dilemmas, and that is drugs. And so I just started thinking about some of the songs I wrote when I was 30 years old, 31 years old, and I just wanted to discuss it. Now, I wrote a song called Yin Yang 50-50, the lyrics, and I wrote it to Cameron's Come Home With Me, and I think Nas and AZ instrumental. And it's called Yin Yang 50-50. It's like, I'm from the hood where you could study medicine and go on to become a GP. I'm from the hood where you could drop out of high school and start hustling on the streets. This hood is Yin Yang 50-50. And what did I mean by that? What I meant by that is, Southall is like the most unique ghetto in the whole world. I don't care what anyone says. It's not a rundown ghetto. Like, there's rundown ghettos in like parts of America where they have no local economy, everything's no local services, public services, or very minimal or very underfunded public services, and really socially deprived. But out Southall, because it's a multicultural sort of Commonwealth, South Asian and Caribbean and African, it's a very different type of ghetto. There's no other ghetto in this world that's quite like Southall South. And by that, what I mean is 50-50 is, you've got kids who attend high schools in Southall who have the potential to be the next doctors, the next counsellors, the next mayors, the next dentists, the next lawyers, the next solicitors, the next architects, the next IT engineer, who have so much potential based on their intellect to go on to be some very academically quite successful. But right next door to the people that will be the future doctors and the future nurses and the future solicitors and the future lawyers, the future barristers, we have people who are destined for the underworld, who are going to be the next kingpin, godfather, drug dealers and robbers and burglars and violent. And it's all in one melting pot. And it's not like, how you have some neighbourhoods where you have someone who's very noble and they live in a noble borough, which is a royal borough of Kingston or something like that, which is far away from another borough which is run down council estate. We're all living next door to each other like tin sardines, quite compact and close to each other. There's just like a double wall that's separating someone who's got the potential to be a doctor to someone who's going to be a murderer, kill someone for their valuables. So it's all close knit, it's all next to each other, and so it's so close. And I remember Jehovah's Witness knocked on my door, and I said to her, it's like a yin yang town. I go, you've got someone sitting in a room somewhere in Southall who is contemplating suicide, who's come to their most lowest point in their life and they want to hang themselves because they just can't take it anymore. And just next door, or a few doors down in the same road, someone's having the time of their life, absolutely loving life. They might, what they say, I sleep in Southall, but I don't hang around in Southall. Like, the people that they come, wherever they go, wherever they travel to in this world, whatever party or wedding they go to, or any club or any city or anywhere they travel, wherever it may be in the world, they always return home to Southall because Southall's home. So you have people having the time of their life. So that's why I called it a yin yang 50-50. It's a 50-50 sort of town. Now, some towns are far from 50-50. Some towns are 70-30, and I'm talking 70% wrong uns and 30% good, or 30% good, 30% wrong and 70% good. So I just thought South was like, it's a mixture. So that's what Yin Yang 50-50 was about. And so walking around the local park, seeing drug addicts, illegal immigrant drug addicts that have no support or anything like that, homeless and everything, because of the politics in India that led them to come to Britain in the first place, political asylum seekers and things like that. I just started thinking about policing. I just started thinking about police. Now, I grew up in a household with criminal orientated, not so much my mum's house, well, my mum and dad's house, is my relatives, people related to my mum's brothers. Well, I'll get to that, my mum's brothers, and my mum's brother, should I say. And when I was little, I'd be like answering the door to heroin dealers who would knock up for my uncle. I'd answer the door and knock, and I'd open it to local robbers who'd be knocking up for my uncle, because he was just in a bit of a predicament at that moment in his life as a teenager. But I'd go to school and brag about it. I'd be like, yeah, my uncle knows all the black people, he knows all the gangsters, and I'd try to act bad as a little, just picture me with a little top knot on my head, a little, how'd you put it, where'd you go, like, top knot on my head, walking around the playground like a little shit dip thing, and just acting bad, thinking, oh, my uncle knows all the gangsters, and trying to play off that, thinking it was the coolest thing on the planet. Now I'd have my old man and my mum say, don't hang around your uncle, don't play with your uncle. My grandparents would say, don't hang around your uncle, but we'd ignore them. We'd just find him so cool because he had the coolest fashionable clothes, and he knew all the gangsters on the local road where we grew up in Old Southall. So let me just say something. This is the common case. Say if you're a sister or a mother and you've got children and you've got brothers who are gangsters, there will be a bad influence on your kids. I'll tell you this now, it's always the case. Like, and your husband, the brother-in-law, is not going to want the kids hanging around his wife's brothers because they're such a bad influence, or vice versa. So, you know, it's always the case. So, Yin Yang 50, I started thinking about police, and now, you know, that's the sort of society I grew up in. A lot of people I went to school with, or the study centre when I dropped out of school and went to the school for those who refused to go to school or got expelled from school. A lot of them, I'd say 95% of those who went to the tutorial study centre ended up in prison, or are still in prison, or going in and out of prison. So that's the sort of life I've been exposed to. But I'm very clever, very smart. So I started thinking about policing, and if you've seen blogs I've put before, whereas I used to listen to Tupac and the NWA records that influenced me as a vulnerable teenager, fuck the police, so I've got to the stage in my life where I'm no longer that teenager. I've shifted. It's called shifting once, where you used to be a certain way but you're not that way anymore. And what I've come to at the age of 36 is I wouldn't slag off or attack the policing establishment as an establishment, because that's just fundamental for all societies throughout the world. But what I will say is, to hell with fuck certain styles of policing. You know, fuck police brutality, fuck racist policing, fuck the style of policing where people frame innocent people or plant evidence. You know, fuck that sort of racist corrupt police, fuck that sort of shit. So I'll criticise styles of policing, touch a nerve, or some of these. It's mainly upper class cunt style of policing, yeah, that I criticise. So that's the point. That's where I've come to in my life. So I started thinking, in Southall town, could someone's life be in danger if they were a policeman or a policewoman? Could they live and stay in Southall? Now you've got to think about all the high schools, primary schools. School teachers have a duty of care and responsibility, and they liaison. That means they have dialogue with the local police establishment. So you have those who are mature and have authority, or some sort of authority about them, that have that sort of school teacher sort of energy and type of way about them. But could someone on a dark road with no one looking, no support, no authority, live in Southall and be safe if they were a police officer or policewoman? And it all comes down to style of policing, what sort of copper I would stick up for, and what realistically could survive around here. And this is what I've concluded. If you're so I'll give you scenarios. Bailiffs come knocking on someone's door and they're going to take everything. Now, if you are the type of cunt that will let them take everything and leave someone who has nothing with more nothing, then you're a son of a bitch. Because there's some things that you should say, regardless of how much they owe. You don't take microwaves, you don't take fridges, you don't take stoves, you don't take washing machines, and it's simple as that. Anything else is a perk, is a luxury, that's up to you. Now there's people who are doing things that are rinsing the system, like they're taking all these loans out and doing all these things on finance with no intention of paying it back. Now if they're rinsing the system, that's between you and them, that's got nothing to do with me. But the people who are intending on paying back what they've taken, who want to pay back and are intending on paying back, but things got on top of them, they misplaced the letter, they forgot about the letter, they suffer from anxiety and depression, they've got mental health issues, and they do intend on paying back, and things got on top of them. But now you're knocking on their door with the bailiffs saying that you've got to take from someone who has nothing and leave them with more nothing. I think that's a cuntish thing to do. You need to come to some sort of arrangement, whether it's weekly payments or fortnightly payments. There has to be some sort of installment payments to be arranged. You can't leave someone who has nothing with nothing. So that sort of Bobby should be alright. Another thing, cash in hand. South is a cash in hand economy. It's as simple as that. You know, there's a business without the paperwork, the good old fashioned handshake and sticking to your word. So things like, how to put it, Say if I was signing on universal credit, right, and I was receiving 400, 500 pounds a month universal credit. Well, I can't, and I'm looking for work. It's not like I'm not looking for work. I'm looking for work here. But I can't just sit in my house all day playing computer all day. So I need to do something active. So I'm going to volunteer for about 30 hours a week posting leaflets. Okay, I'm not getting cash for it. I swear, I promise you, I'm not getting cash in hand for leafleting. I'm not doing that. I promise you. Look, you can't. That's against the law. But I'm saying I'll volunteer for at least 16 hours. I'll do 16 hours, or if I can work 16 hours posting leaflets and receive my universal credits. That's all. I'm not going more than 16 hours. Anything more than 16 hours, I'm volunteering just to keep active and keep references for when I find potential mainstream work. So, you know, and if you're going to knock on their door and say, you can't do that, like Cuthbert Jason Cringeworth from the Backstreet Kids, one of those fucking weasel wankers, you need to go and fuck yourself. You need to just look that way and keep your mouth shut if someone's receiving, working and volunteering and not receiving extra cash in hand money whilst receiving universal credit. Yeah, and people say that's wrong, that's out of order. Look, yeah, corporate theft, corporate avoidance of taxation is worse than average Joe Blogs walking down the street getting universal credit and volunteering for 30 hours a week and not receiving cash in hand for leafleting or newspapers. And you know, so you've got to be considerate in that sense. Yeah. And so what else? When it comes to drugs, yeah, I'm not going to stand by and see someone threaten my next door neighbor who doesn't want to see another child or their child get hooked on the foil and injection methods of consuming heroin. Now, if we were to take the kids to the local, like, study centre kids to the crack dens and the crack spots in the park and basically say to them, and we get a drug addict, someone that you got some sort of rapport with, someone you're friends with who just fell off, and you say to them, teach these kids. And what are the drug addicts going to have to say to the kids? They can't say to them, it's the best feeling ever, it's just so amazing. Because I'll look at the drug addict who looks like a tramp, who's got scabs all over their body and face, and say to the kids, regardless of how brilliant and amazing they're saying heroin makes them feel when they inject it or chase it on foil, on the outside it looks like a load of bollocks. And do you know why it looks like a load of bollocks on the outside? Because it is a load of bollocks. Fuck the foil and injection methods of consuming heroin. And in regards to crack, as long as people don't push putting it in a pipe, you know, we have to regulate the drug trade. That's the most realistic thing. We need a Portugal trial, because in Portugal they've legalized all drugs. People can carry a gram of heroin, a gram of crack on them, a gram of cocaine on them in Portugal, and it's not going to be confiscated from them. So we need to, in a town like Southall, you've got to regulate the drugs. So there's do's and don'ts. What's the basic do's and don'ts? Never sell to minor children, ever. If you are a drug consumer, you have to work a regular job to consume your drug habit. You can't go and rob, burglary, or violently attack someone to get money for your drug habit. And so there's methods that have to be legalized and methods that have to be forbidden. Now, smoking a ganja spliff, ganja weed, should be okay for someone who's 16 years old and older. Hybrid, like the chronic, the piff, the skunk, you have to be 18 years and older because it's a hallucinogenic. In regards to heroin, you have to be 18 years and older to smoke ganja lace weed with ganja, bee-laced ganja. So it's basically, don't go further than the tobacco and Rizla method or smoking a heroin laced ganja weed. Don't ever put it in foil, don't ever put in injection, and work to fund your habit. And in regard to crack, don't ever put in pipe. Don't ever go further than a spliff, tobacco and Rizla laced with a bit of crack crystals. Now people say, why are you so casual about it? Why are you talking like it's like I'm going to enforce this? I'm just suggesting ideas, yeah? Suggesting how to regulate it. Now, ultimately you say don't even smoke cigarettes, don't even drink alcohol. But when the arsewipe goes and smokes alcohol, smokes a cigarette and goes and drinks alcohol, and then they start dabbling in some sort of narcotic, then we have to tell them how not to do drugs. And what we have to tell them is, in the 1990s, people who put foil in heroin in foil and heroin injections, they were mollycoddled. The drug dealer was seen as the bad guy, or the victim. He got a victim and got them hooked on the foil and injection method of heroin. But we're living in a time, after you've been given a drugs awareness lesson by like someone with a study center mentality, and says to you, when it comes to ganja, smoke ganja in tobacco and Rizla, and if it's going to be laced in heroin, you have to be 18 years old and you have to work to fund your habit. And do not smoke in the morning, do not smoke in the afternoon, only smoke in the evening after your hard day's work so you can relax and unwind. Never smoke in the morning, never smoke in the afternoon, because it'll be a bad start to your day. You'll be lazy and do fuck with your life. Now, if you're unemployed, you can't sit on the park bench all day, every day, morning and afternoon, getting drunk and getting high. You need to look for work and be productive. And when you come home from job hunting, then you can smoke a joint in the evening. Now, in regards to heroin and crack, never put in foil, never put in injection, never put it in a pipe. Now, if you're going to be an arsewipe and say, well, you know what, I'm going to put it in a foil, I'm going to put it in a pipe, I'm going to put it in an injection, then you're not going to get mollycoddled, you're going to get shifted. We're going to associate pain with the foil and injection and the pipe methods. Now, the thing with foil and injection and pipe methods is it's so potent, it might give you the most amazing high. It's too potent for human consumption and it has to be forbidden. Now, mild consumption is tobacco and Rizla, spliff, joint methods, so don't go further than the joint. But there's certain professions that you can't smoke any sort of hallucinogenic or laced. When it comes to working on the railways and constructions, you can only smoke ganja with it, which is a relaxant. After work, you've got aches and pains in your body, you can just sit, smoke a ganja spliff before you go to bed. But you can't smoke hallucinogenics or anything laced with crack or heroin because that's too potent. But jobs like retail, where people's care and safety is not in your hands, you can smoke a ganja bee spliff in the evening because, you know, it's relaxing. People can hold down regular jobs and you won't even suspect that they smoke ganja weed laced in heroin B, and you wouldn't even notice. And especially, you know, you can hold down jobs with the spliff methods, the joint methods. So that's all I want to say. And yeah, so that's basically what I want to say. People who regulate it and just have that sort of mentality and are working class bobbies, I'm not going to stand by and watch someone make a death threat to a school teacher or next door neighbor who is got that sort of policing mentality. I'm not going to stand by and watch someone make a death threat, because I'm going to just get to the point. The way I've just explained, someone like that won't get much hassle in South, because that's someone who's safe. That's not someone who's being a cunt. But really what it boils down to, I am fed up of seeing young people kill each other, stab each other over dumb shit because they're copying what a gang-banging gangster rapper from America is saying how to deal and handle situations and how to handle conflict. Now, I'm so fed up with that people who want to come together, whether it's the churches, the mosques, the mandras, the good warriors, or even atheist evolutionary scientist departments who are fed up of all the senseless killing that want it to stop. I'm not going to stand by and watch someone make a death threat and say they're going to hurt somebody because they want to put a stop to the killing. That's my main concern. Not whether you work and get universal credit and do cash and hand work, or whether you all that shit. That's not what's bothering me. And whether you want to smoke a joint after work, after you funded your habit out of your own pocket, that's not what bothers me. But we need to stop the killing. Just get to the point. We need to stop the killing.